Hey guys, so welcome back. All right, so last time we did some work on this RCA from 1951, I believe it is, and what we did is we did the initial diagnosis of the problem of this, and we found out what it was, and we got it fixed pretty much. We fixed the problem that it had, got it playing pretty well, and then went in there and did the replacement of the capacitors, put in a fuse for the power line, and did all that good stuff. And then we went in to try to address the lack of reception by doing the alignment. And we were able to align the second IF can, but the first IF can, here, when we turned the slug, all the sound went dead. We did a test of putting the signal on the output of this, and we're able to get it through the rest of the radio, but on the input, nothing's getting through. So I think what happens when I turn that core, I think we'll find out. We turned a core against a seized internal tube that then twisted and maybe pulled a wire loose. So we're going to take this IF transformer out and see if we can fix this and then get back on to repairing the rest of this radio. So hang on, we're going to get started. Let's go. One of the things I did just to make sure that I wasn't missing something obvious is I checked for continuity between these legs, and there is none. By comparison, if I go up here, you'll pick up the impedance of, or the DC resistance, I should say, of the coil, for example, from pin 3 and 4, or another way to look at it is from the plate of 5 over here to, well, wherever you want to pick this, like say this 2.2K. You can pick up, the impedance of this coil and this impedance of this coil, DC resistance. But measuring here, I can find no continuity whatsoever. So I believe these leads, there's more than just one lead pulled loose. There's probably one pulled here as well. So anyway, it's going to be interesting to go in there and see what I got. It's nice they've got the capacitor, capacitance on here. They're both 100. And these are, what does that say? Can't quite make that out. But anyway, is that 125? And that's what, 130? Or I can't tell. Anyway, so that's a good check to make sure if I go to the trouble of pulling all this out. So I know this is dead. So let's get it out of there. Okay, so I got these connections undone. I tried to get them unwound and then just decided I was going to cause more damage than good. So I went ahead and cut the rest of the leads loose and popped off one of the brackets here. And about to pop off the other one so we can see together what's our situation here. Can you see? Okay. All right, here we go. He said. Something got hold of it. There we go. All right, so here we are. Now, I probably could have taken this can off while it was on the chassis, but I know I've got wires disconnected anyway, so I wanted to make it a little bit easier. All right, let's see what we got. Okay. Okay. And here we go. Yeah, I see a broken lead already. Okay, these things are kind of crimped in, and that's keeping the insulator from sliding out. Hang on. There we go. Okay. You able to see? Okay. Okay, well there's our capacitors right on top. It's actually kind of convenient. What do you think? You think I should go ahead and do the silver mica surgery while I got it open? Boy, that's easy to get to. you can see all the silver oxidation. I think that the ion migration is happening. It's going from here over to here. You see, you get the voltage develop right between them, and then the ions migrate over here, and then they start shorting out. So there's the mica on top. You've got the patches of silver screen printed onto them. They have a certain dimension, and then this just simply clamps it down. That might be tempting to do the silver mica surgery since I have it out. We'll cross that bridge in a minute. Let's see what we got here. So we've got, so what happened was I turned this and it broke. So let's see if we can recreate what we thought we saw. You can focus. Okay. Yeah, see that? There's your problem, lady. So this slug is seized inside that cardboard tube, and as I went to turn this, it pulled those wires loose, as you see right there. The other coil's up inside of this. I don't know if they're damaged as well. At any rate, let me take a close look at this and I'll tell you what I found out. Okay, so let's see if I can get to where you can see this. All 4 leads are pulled loose. Okay. So one of the things that we know is, when we were looking at it a while ago, it was like this. That's the way the markings were. And the connection goes from here to here and here to here. And we can track that up. And sure enough, the capacitor is between here and here and here and here, right? So the connections on the coils as well are from here to here and here to here. All right, so we can follow that in. So there I've pulled out all 4 of the wires. Can you see them? Almost. There. 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all pulled loose. All right. I think I can fix this. Especially since the 2 capacitors are supposed to be the same value. I think that makes it a lot easier. I'm not sure why one of these is shielded. But anyway, we also need to fix the fact that the cardboard is loose and that the slug is stuck. Does this one turn as well? Yeah, the whole cardboard tube is locked up. So I have to see if we can get that to break loose. Golly, that is tight. I think that's the biggest problem is can we even operate the slugs? This thing may be so locked up we can't turn it at all. Reattaching the wires may be academic. Come on. No, I can't turn them. We're going to be a little more drastic. Maybe when I take this apart and get in here to the capacitors, maybe I can get access to that tube. This is looking kind of bad. This is a RCA unit. You can see it here on the bottom. Here. But you can also see it on the can here. So if you get a RCA, this is what you're looking at. Okay, we'll do some more inspection. Okay, so I'm setting up to measure the capacitance of these built-in capacitors here that have the silver mica disease starting up. So it's set on the spec sheet. They're supposed to be 100 picofarads. This one's measuring 115. And this one here is measuring 115. Okay, so I think that's probably fine. That's probably what they actually measure. I mean, that's why the slug is adjustable anyway, is for handling the tolerance of that. I know the other people who know a lot about this show how to do this replacement of capacitors by using an adjustable capacitor that you put on the bottom and then tune it until you get the reading that the slug is on. I might have to do that in this case if I can't move the slug. But normally what I do is I just take that measurement and that's what I use, and then know that I can reach where I need to be by adjusting slugs. Then I don't have to mess around with the adjustable capacitors and measuring what it should be and then putting them in there when all I gotta really do is adjust the cores, just get close enough, right? Anyway, that's the size of what's in there. So if I decide to take these out, I know 100, 115 picofarads would probably be just fine. Okay. Well, you want the good news, the bad news. The good news is I was able to get this one to come loose. I just kind of worked it back and forth, held onto this barrel, which gave me a little more something to hold on to. And I worked this back and forth, and I was able to get this slug to move. So that's good news. So we can get somewhere with that. Bad news is that when I tried to do the same thing on the other end, the ear broke off. I've tried getting hold of it with pliers to try to get it to move. It won't budge. I had been holding on to this barrel to give me something to hold on to, and it broke loose as well of the central cardboard core. So, sorry for the focus. Come on. So now the cardboard core and this thing here are not together anymore. So I think this is pretty well trashed. I may have to look to see if I can find another one, or we'll just have to say, sorry RCA, you're done. Your part's set. But anyway, I'll play around, see if I can get this to work. I may take it apart the rest of the way and see if we can identify the failure mode. I guess one of the things I could do is, as I mentioned earlier, is go ahead and get variable capacitors onto here. Since I cannot move the slugs, I can move this one, but since I cannot move this other slug, rather than destroying this the rest of the way, maybe what I should do is reattach those wires where they go, and then see if I can get some variable capacitors on here that give me enough of an adjustment, you know, like a half a turn cap to go through a range of 100 picofarads. I'll never be able to get it peaked. But if I can get one that's got fairly tight movement, I might be able to get it. If I wasn't doing this for a video, I'd probably throw this in the junk box. It's just not worth the effort. But maybe it'd make it a little more interesting to do, so maybe we'll give it a try. And then I can go ahead and just take these capacitors out while I'm at it. Because I'm going to have to, if I have to put adjustable caps on here anyway, then I might as well replace these. Okay, it's a couple of days later. What I've done is I've gone in and I've done some epoxying of the tube that's in here. I'll put some epoxy on it between here and the ceramic end pieces on both ends of this. Here's my approach. So I'm going to try to do this, because I think if I try to go in there and look at how the cores are jammed in here, I'm going to end up destroying this. So let's see if we can do something short of destruction and get this thing to work. So what I've got is I've got a couple of variable capacitors. Don't ask me where you can buy these, the model numbers. I dug them out of a parts bin at a local shop. So that marking there is just about all there is I have on here. But what I've done is I've taken these and I've hooked them up on my component tester. And I've got them both set to 115 picofarads. Let's say electromotive, and 304. And they're a little sensitive, you know, as far as the range goes. I don't know what the range is. I've never seen a spec sheet on this. But anyway, I've got these both set for 115 picofarads. Now, that's the measurement I got on the capacitors that are on top. Now, I never was able to get this core to turn, so I know that the ferrite core in here is right where it's supposed to be for this capacitor. But this top core I did move around up and down earlier, so it's out of place where it needs to be. So what I would like to do is I'd like to see if I can get this core back in place near where it needs to be, so that then the cores are kind of where they need to be for this capacitance. And then what I'm going to do is replace these capacitors here with the variable capacitors, and then I will not be turning these anymore. These will be like they're fixed, and then I'll be turning those other capacitors as you would, you know, the type of cans that have the tunable capacitors, the trimmable capacitors, instead of the cores, and that's how this will work. That's kind of the idea. That's what we're going to see if we can give that a try. I have looked to see if I have another one of these in another radio. For example, that Silvertone that I was rating earlier has the same tube layout. It has a can in there that goes into a metal type, this kind of chassis as opposed to a circuit board. I think it would work. It is a different manufacturer. I could get the red book out and look for equivalencies. I don't know that I'm going to go that much trouble on this radio, but I'm going to see if we can do what I just described. So we're going to see if we can get any progress with that. Okay, so I've got the shield hooked up to the chassis, and we'll just see if I can get any response out of this. I turn on the voltage and signal generator, and we'll see what we get. So bear with me a minute. Let's see what happens. Okay, now I got the speaker hooked up. Let's bring the voltage up. 120 volts. Let's see if we get anything. All right, okay, I've got the signal generator set for 455. I'm going to turn on the modulation. You can hear it a little bit there. I'm going through a loop through the antenna. So it's coming in like it's supposed to. Let me see if I can get anything at all adjusting the top core here. Pardon my head while I engage the slots here. Okay, let's see what we can get. Okay, I'll bring you back when I get something tuned in. Okay, I'm getting the tone through. Okay, well, I'm going to call that good enough. I want to see if we get any radio through here. Turn the signal generator off. Okay. Oh, what a sloppy way to repair a radio, huh?
Canceled shows honored for the rescheduled dates, which are November 16th in Lafayette.
Doesn't matter, I'll tell you that.
Okay, so we got the radio working again. We've got the first IF transformer just kind of laying out here on the bench. So it's performing. We see silver mica disease starting up on the capacitors, and I'll try to explain it again. The way they made those is you had the mica, and then what they did was they screen printed silver, I guess, paint or paste in a certain size, okay, onto the surfaces. Those leaves that you see are just to make the contact on both sides, okay? And what happens is the voltage is developed from one pair to the other pair across the surface, and they find that relative humidity can affect this and probably other things too. That's one of the reasons they put conformal coatings on things, is to prevent ion migration from happening due to moisture. But anyway, what happens is the silver ions then begin to migrate along the lines of where the voltage difference is, and they begin to work towards each other. It turns black, as you see, because that's basically a silver oxide that's on the outside. But eventually they come together and they short out and they spark and arc, and that's when you hear all that lightning and electrical storm type noise, and then when it can actually shut down the whole radio. Anyway, we see it happening here. I have no doubt the other one probably has it too. Should I go ahead and replace it and put these in? I don't know. I'm going to give it some thought. But it's working now. So it may be working good enough, and it may work for another 5 or 10 years like this. So maybe I should just leave it since it's functioning. Let me give it some thought, and then you'll find out in just a few seconds what it ended up doing.
Here is that what he has found in
Okay,
his
I think I've made a decision. I'm not going to do it. I'll tell you why. Virtually all of the radios of this era that have these kinds of cans all have migration happening. They're all going to go bad eventually. So what am I going to do? Take all my radios and do capacitor replacements on them? I'm not going to do it until they need to be done. These are not terribly cheap. I think they're about $4 or $5 each. So I just don't see much point in doing it if it's not necessary. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and put this back in, and we'll let this radio play, and I'll put a note in here about the silver mica disease and also about the can being seized up. So if I never am the one back in here, somebody else will see the note and know what to do about it. And maybe by that time, silver mica disease surgery can be done. These cans are very easy to replace, as you saw. So we'll let that be the case at that time, but I'm not going to do it now. I'm going to put this thing back together again so we can finish this radio up. Okay, IF transformer number 1 is back in, and we got a working radio. So
those of you sitting on the sidelines, I really encourage you.
all right. Okay, let's see how we did with this. You may remember that the backboard with the antenna had not only the antenna peeled up and not attached to the backboard anymore, but also the board itself was kind of cupped, and that was causing problems with the metal retainers holding the backboard against the inside of the cabinet. So I took those retainers off, and let's see if we can get a combination of the antenna loop re-glued, and see if we're also able to do some good with the flattening. I don't know if that will work, but we'll see how it turned out. So we used wax paper, and we used wood glue. So far it looks like the glue job turned out okay. Okay, let's see what we get here. Well, it looks like the glue job worked out really well. I'm not too dissatisfied with the flatness. That's probably going to be pretty good. We'll see. But yeah, I think that turned out nice. Looks good. We can put that on the back and get our antenna hook back up. Good. Okay. We got that all painted up. We got the circle all painted up. We got the case all waxed. It looks pretty sharp. All right, let's finish getting this thing put together. So I got the antenna hooked back up. The intention of getting it in the right position so I could do the trimming of the antenna trimmer that's on the the condenser, and it's starting to act up. That's one of the reasons that I like to leave these things playing for several days before I box them all up and call them done. This thing started acting up. It is fighting us. I've tried changing out a number of tubes. I've tried changing out, moving tubes around. I've tried going in with my signal tracer to track it down. I've either got one or more bad tubes, or the ion migration is actually making connection and shorting out. So that might be a tube. But I think it's silver mica disease. So yeah, I thought I was going to get away with it by not doing the doing the surgery on here, but I may have to do it. Okay, so if I go in with this, let's see, I'm in RF, so I'm going to go ahead of the detector. So it's before the second IF can. Let's see, is that right? Let's see. That's the IF tube. Well, let's see. Here's the input from the first IF. So I'm going to turn the volume of the radio all the way down. Okay, that's all the way down. Everything you're hearing is coming from here. So I'm currently connected at the output. Come on. Come on, exposure. I'll pop it up on the screen. The grid input of the IF tube. So that's the output of the first IF. And yeah. Okay, well, I've substituted out the converter tube with a known good converter tube from my shop radio, and it doesn't seem to make any difference. I can force the station's frequency through. I'm pushing through, I don't know, what is this set at? Oops, I just lost it. So I'm pushing through at about 700 kilohertz, but there's no radio signal getting through. So I'm going to suspect the silver blanket disease actually did form up in here and this thing has failed. So to get this thing to work, I'm going to have to do the surgery on this. The reason I'm going to a different frequency besides the IF is that it shows me that the oscillator is working, because that's giving me the 455 out of the converter tube. Okay, I've got power going to this thing. I was able to slip the cover off because I already had it off once before, and I had released some of the little areas that was holding onto it.
15 or 16 since the Astros haven't been, really deep in the playoffs. It's been a good little dynasty that they have. Yeah, it has. It really has. That's always nice when you're winning. I mean, we were growing up here. I mean, there was a, that didn't happen too often. I remember we had some, pretty good runs when I was a kid, but they were far and few in between. But it's really exciting when they are. Yeah, I remember we used to make the drives out to watch the Astros like in the early 2000 time frame, and it was basically free to get in the stadium. Yeah, it was definitely some tough seasons. Back in the Jeff Bagwell days. And, oh yeah, fun. Yeah, fun. Definitely fun. It's been really exciting seeing them kind of turn that program around. Were y'all y'all go to the Astrodome? Were y'all at the Astrodome watching? I don't remember. In my head, I always remember Minute Maid. Is that right? When did they move into Minute Maid? I don't know. We need to look. You're looking that up. Yeah, I'll look it up right now.
Punks.
I don't remember the exact date, but yeah, tickets were a lot before we won that first World Series. Tickets were a lot cheaper, and I'd pop up there every now and then.
So there's the voltage between the capacitors. Right? It's DC, so you're getting polarity.
Yeah, I just looked it up. 2000. That was when 2000 didn't move a minute. So yeah, I've probably never been to a game, and guess not. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was.
I grew up next to the Astrodome. I saw it being built.
Speaking of new stadiums, I still want to get out to see. Speaking of the Rangers too, and stadiums, their new stadium in Arlington, I've heard is just insane. I think it's I think it might be the newest one in MLB. It's there are procedures out there, and they're all very expensive. But
well, I guess we're gonna let it run and see what it does.
Because we love our pets, but
Kind of mix. Tremendous dog. I'd also like to point out Satchel's coloring.
Okay, so this thing is continuing to work. So I wonder if maybe this was shorting out against some of these side pieces. I'll have to verify I don't have any whiskers hanging off. I can kind of see one now. So I'm going to go through and just make sure I don't have anything hanging out that might have been touching this case, because that might have been causing it to short out and not get the signal through. So I'm going to let it play for a little bit longer, but I'm going to do some looking into that. Okay, I've gone through and did some checking. If I put too much pressure on this one, it causes that leaf to lift up a little bit, which is the only time I had any kind of questionable results. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut the power off, put the cover back on, and see if it works okay.
Yeah, it just holds up.
So there we are.
Also,
And let's put it back on and see what we get.
Like in the early 90s.
I have to reach up underneath because I have to control this, and this wants to fall down. It might contact some of the wires that go to the IF transformer. So we'll see what we get here. Okay, we got the clamps back on. Let's turn on the power and see if we get anything. Turn it down just in case I got a short. Okay, it all looks okay. All right, let's keep our fingers crossed. See what we get.
Try and get some barrels from them. I'm sure we'll try our best to like make up for whatever we have to sanction.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. And then earnings, of course, is a big focus of the markets right now too, and they've been kind of mixed, but overall positive. Of all the companies that have reported results so far, about a quarter of the S&P 500.
Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to begin the burn in again, make sure everything's okay. But I may have just had a wire or something that was touching the inside of the can. I got that pushed out of the way, and maybe that was it.
The majority are in positive territory. Year-over-year earnings are still expected to decline a little bit. And I know, the fact that it's even slightly green has a lot to do with just the big tech companies that are up.
Fielder right now, opening day. Probably gun to your head, you say Chas McCormick. What?
Oh, that was disappointing, but
the organization doesn't feel like Chas McCormick
Astros are going to
everything's
be
gonna
good
feel
next year.
Well, that
Okay, it's been playing, and the volume just faded away, faded out. So let me check some voltages. Oh, I've lost a filament. Look here. My voltage is up and my current has dropped to 0, so we've lost a filament is what's happened here. Okay, let's see. Who is it? You can see my ammeter here. That one. That one. That's not that one. I don't know. I've lost a filament. Interesting. Okay, I'm going to go doing some poking around. Let's see what we can find. I've got voltage on this thing, so I should be able to go to common ground. I'm going to be looking for AC voltage, and if I go to the high side, okay, there's my voltage coming in. It's high because I'm using a dim bulb, and I have it set for where I was getting 120 volts with the thing fully running, so it makes sense to be a little high. Okay. Alright, so I know I've got voltage coming in. It's going through the thermistor. From here it goes to the switch. Okay, there it is. It comes out of the switch here. Okay, it's out of the switch. Comes out of the switch, and it goes to pin 4, which is located 1, 2, 3, 4. Pin 4 is here. Okay, it gets to pin 4. Should come out of pin 8. Pin 8. Okay. Do I mean pin 8? What is that? That's a 6. Beg your pardon. It's not an octal. So pin This one. Okay. And then it's what, pin 3? Okay, comes out of pin 3. Alright, then we go to the audio output tube, pin 4. Alright. Pin 4, the audio output tube, is here. Okay. Then we go to pin, looks like it's 3. Is it 3? No, it's not 3. Pin 5. 1, 2.
So well. Glad you called delayed. Call the late health at 713.
Yeah, we've got a funky tube here somewhere.
For a consultation. Up late? Why wait?
I'm going to let it die again.
Help keep our community safe and healthy during National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, October.
My teammates, the organization as a whole, the fans.
Okay, we're going to let it play for a while until that filament files up again and we'll find it. We've got a tube that's intermittent.
Kiosks to place your wager on whatever.
Okay, just ask me how long it took me to find this.
It's underway tonight. The NFL season well underway, and if you want to place wagers against the Texas Rangers, absolutely do that at Cushata Casino Resort.
Yeah, with that NBA season, what the second half line was, resort, all the information you want to know about, as you said, right there online at CushataCasinoResort.com.
One mission. Mother wanted to win.
Here come the Rockets. One station. Tonight at 6 on air on iHeartRadio. Sports Talk 790. Home of the Rockets. Now, the drive from the Classic Elite Buick GMC.
Not more, because he's the GM. In every other job he's had, he's
Okay, so I decided that was a cold solder connection where I soldered this capacitor in. So I retouched and reflowed the solder on that. And
scouting job to this personnel job to that.
I definitely did the trick.
All the way through, he was around Joe Espada, I would hope, about as much
Okay,
as any
that's
other
good and solid.
people he'd been around.
So that fixed that problem entirely. Good deal. I'll let it run.
They were, at similar spots in their respective careers.
Okay, so I'm set up to do the alignment on the oscillator and the antenna. I've already done the IF cans. I'm showing my frequency generator set up here using a system that xraytonyb showed us of using an inexpensive frequency counter. It works really good. It's driven off of the power supply within the signal generator. Definitely worth checking out. I've got the link to it in my show notes. Okay, so it says to go to 1620. You can see how nice this is to be able to do. It doesn't need to be this close, I'm sure. Okay, and I'm going to switch on the, and there it is. Let me turn it down. Okay, and by the way, when I switch on the oscillator inside, this is no longer accurate. That's okay, it doesn't bother me. Alright, let's go to the radio. Okay, so it's at 1620. Let's go all the way to the high end of the scale, and let's adjust it to where it's at 1620 at the top end of the scale. Alright, so the oscillator is this one. And let's adjust it. Okay, so the question is, which way is it? It can be very sensitive. Okay. Let's see if we can find it. Okay, there it is. So I'm going to move it a little bit higher. Now which way turning this gets me strong again? Clockwise does. Okay, so I'm going to go more clockwise on the knob, and I'll follow it. There it is, clockwise on the knob, follow it. Clockwise on the knob. I'm at the top. Now I follow it. And now I peak it. Let me move this back a little bit. Stand by, lost my connection. Okay. Now what we're doing is we're peaking it. So at the top of the knob is at 1620. You can do this with a meter. I find for this kind of radio, this is fine. About there. Okay, now it says I'm going to switch back and I'm going to take the frequency generator to about 1500. Okay, it's at 1500. Modulation is on. Now see if we can find it. Okay, there it is. So it just needs to be in the neighborhood. So now what I'm going to do is peak the antenna and rock this at the same time to get the best signal. This is the antenna. Turn down the signal. This is how sensitive it's getting. Picking up noise in the shop too. Now turn the knob. Now turn the screw. I think that's about it. Okay. Let's see if this thing receives.
Là một loại dược thảo sinh tố giúp chúng ta có một
There's a weak station. Let me try to tune that. Alright, that's about it. You don't normally pick up stuff in the shop.
For a while now. You may have some questions. Lone Star Chevrolet. 515 for homes. Houston Homes. Built for the... It's happening. Comcast Business.
Okay.
$59.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year agreement.
Yeah, and I found the problem. The 50C5 finally died. It was fading out and coming back and fading out, coming back, and finally the heater died. And so I tested it, and it's definitely open. So I marked it. And I've got another 50C5 in there, and it's working just fine. I let it run for a while, but I also went in and tightened up the pin sockets. They were a little wobbly. Got that all taken care of. So let the burning happen, and then I think this thing will be ready. Okay, we got the plate back on the face.
But then again, I may just be a little bit more, we'll just say more jaded, I guess, at this point when it comes to this. I think they're doing irreparable.
And we're ready to go back into the case. I'm going to let it keep burning for a while, but I think we're about ready to go into the case.
Defeat, jaws of victory.
The alignment really helped.
The Toyota Tundra is the perfect way to navigate it. On your path, you're your own boss. Set your own hours.
Look at that sunrise.
long that was in there. Okay, now I need to put these little guys back on. Let's see how our straightening of this worked. Okay. Well, then we put this guy back on. Okay. Okay. Okay, yeah, it's not rubbing anywhere. All right, looks pretty nice. I'm gonna plug it in, we'll see how it does. Hang on.
To the lane. Well, the backboard missed the shot. Gathered his own rebound and lays it in for two. Hands it to Van Vliet. Right down the lane he goes and lays it. $6 billion in emergency spending for disaster relief, child care funding, and broadband.
Change rapidly. Safeguarding your savings and retirement accounts is paramount. Direct Bullion USA is more.
The 5 and co-anchor of America's Newsroom. Join me.
Duffy at FoxNewsPodcast.com or wherever you download podcasts.
The search continues for a Massachusetts wanted for questioning in the death.
Fees or markup. Best of all,
They're turning in radio show. Every Saturday from 10 to noon. Back to your questions and get you back on the road.
Okay guys, here we are at last. We finally finished this thing. I honestly thought this was going to be a fairly quick project. A little All-American 5 from 1951. I thought it was going to go pretty smoothly. I've been working on this for about a month. Now granted, I've had a lot of other things I had to do, but you know, when those things get interspersed in there, it can really drag out. So anyway, this thing has fought us all the way along. But one of the main things we found out when we turned this thing on was a very good example of why you don't plug these things in and just turn them on. Because the capacitors inside, the 2 filter capacitors, had shorted out. Well, one of them in particular was basically a dead short. And even with a fairly low voltage on this, I was drawing about almost a half an amp. And so I was able to show y'all, you know, getting rid of that one shorted capacitor, putting in a new one, showing how now we had hum, but we still, you know, the radio would now work. And we worked our way through this. We did the capacitor change out. I had a heck of a time dealing with the fact that it's one of these deep congested chassis. It makes it hard to kind of get in there and work on it. But we did get that done. I had some intermittent problems. I had a tube that was trying to die on me, and it finally did here near the end of the project. I had a cold connection of a connection to the first IF transformer. We found that the IF transformer adjusting slug had frozen in the bottom, so when I turned that, it pulled the wires loose, and I'd take the IF transformer apart and go in there and rewire that. I considered doing the silver mica surgery on it, but it actually seemed to be working okay. There was a couple of times where I thought I was hearing silver mica disease starting up, but it ended up being that cold solder connection. So that's what that ended up being. So anyway, we finally got this thing done, and let's just do a quick band scan. The lighting's not ideal. It's kind of late in the day, but we're about to get a couple of days of rain, so I want to go ahead and get this out of the way and get this filmed. I've got it at the high end of the scale. I'm just picking up College Station, which is about 70 miles away. But you know, you don't expect this thing to really be a high performer. It's just an All-American 5. Anyway, we'll just do a quick scan.
Y llevárselos a otros
A lot of stations in there.
Which we're very, very proud of at Cal.
I mean, it sounds good. Speakers sound good. We got it coded, and it's going to be okay.
Ethnography and played a major role in the Harlem Renaissance.
And maybe San Antonio. It's late in the day. We may be starting to pick it up.
That keep you fat.
Or maybe not.
PhD has a free maintenance plan, so we'll never leave your side.
Call them today when...
Con mucha ternura yo le digo adiós. Y tú también.
Dial pound 250 and say
Muy animada
It's
yo
got pretty good
confío.
selectivity.
pound 250 baby or visit.
Yo no puedo.
Yeah, that's it.
That's Jesse. That's preborn doc.
Le dije, tú no puedes. You can.
Pretty good selectivity.
Họ phải chính những cái người đóng thuế đó.
So I think we got the alignment sharp. And I could probably get different, reception by turning it.
That is their second triple in 4 tries. And it snaps the 6th straight run for the Rockets. We're tied at 6. 8-19
The pointer's
remaining
pretty
in
neat.
first
It does
quarter.
glow pink on the end. It's just hard to capture in the camera.
Green gets a screen for Van Vliet.
There's high value to a college degree
No, slow to get up.
is on the concept.
Principal protection can be linked to something like the S&P 500.
And you obviously want a positive outcome. So essentially, you have to throw the records out the window.
Okay, so there you go, guys. We went through the whole thing. It receives okay. It's a city radio. That's an All-American 5. Like I say, this is from 1951. It's 72, if I got that right, 72 years old. But anyway, appreciate you guys hanging in there, watching all the things that went wrong with this darn thing. And we'll get on to something else next. So appreciate you guys watching, all the kind comments and so forth. Appreciate it. And I'll see you guys next time. Thanks. Bye.